So I want to go over how to create the section views that you have to do for um, part of this assignment. So you turned in this right here and this one right here, which you're on the right track. Just a couple things and we need to fix in order for you to get full credit for these problems. So I'm just gonna go back and I'll go over the first one with you, and then I'll let you finish the other ones. So I guess the first thing is when you look at this is you're gonna have to make sure that you you lay out the dimensions that are given right here. So if it says 4.5 inches, then you should be drawing that piece 4.5 inches. So don't forget when you do that, 4 blocks is equal to 1 inch, right? So 4 blocks is 1 inch. So 4 times 4 is 16, and then a half of an inch is 2 blocks. So that's a total of 18 blocks. So you're going to either have to count that out with the number of blocks and using those measurements, or grab yourself a ruler and lay it out that way. It doesn't make any difference. Both of them is going to work out the same. So anyway, so I'm just going to lay this out for 4.5 inches tall. Okay, so 4.5. I'm just going to kind of sketch this real quick. 4.5 inches, inch and a half wide. So that would be 6 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right here. So I'm just gonna just sketch this because you're sketching. I'm gonna use that to help lay out the dimensions. If you have a straight edge, grab anything. It doesn't have to be anything. Sometimes even when I'm just drawing something, like and I don't have a scale, even the edge of like a credit card or a debit card, library card, something like that, um, is a nice little straight edge, and it's hard enough to look at it. So this is your right side view. We're going to be turning this into a section view. So I'll show you a little trick. When you're laying this out, if you want to lay this out like the drawing that's been given with the hidden lines, you can just turn the hidden lines into a solid line after you get that laid out. But first off, you have to get this laid out correctly. All right, so we've got to do a little bit of math here. So you've got 4.5 inches here, 3 3/4 here. So we've got to look at the difference for that and lay that out. A lot of times what I'll do is just find the center. So the center of 4.5 would be 9 blocks. So that's also 2 1/4. All right, so this is the center. So I can go ahead and lay out my center line. All right, and then we've got the inside diameter, which is 3.75, and divide that by 2. So that equals a 1.875. And just to remind you, 1.875 is 1 7/8. So 7/8 is the last eighth of an inch mark before you get to 2 inches. So because that's an eighth and this is quarter, that means that the location for that 1 7/8 is going to be like in the middle of a block. So I'm going to put my 0 here and count that out, and that's literally 1 7/8. So if you're counting this, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5 blocks. So 7.5 blocks up. And on the other ones, you're just going to have to well, the second one has the exact same dimensions, but just looks a little bit different, and the other one is 1 5/8. So either grab a ruler or just um, use, know that half of one of those blocks is an eighth of an inch. So every block is 2/8. So it should line up in half of a block. So that is going to be the location for that inside cutout. And then, so we've got 1 inch. We've got 1 inch hole cut in, and then this is over on 1.5. So we're just going to lay that out 1 inch, which is 4 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's going to be about right there. So I'm just going to kind of like sketch this in here and lay out kind of like what we're looking at. So if you draw this with hidden lines, you would have to eventually come back and make this a solid line. So I'm just going to go ahead and just draw it with a solid line and not go through all that trouble. So I'm just creating my section. This is my section view, and that's what that's going to look like. It has a 1 1/4 hole diameter that's going through the middle. So half of that, so you just take 1.25 and divide that by 2. It's going to be 0.5 plus 0.125, so it's 0.625. So that's half of that. So back over here, 5/8 is 0.625. So there's your half of an inch, and then go up 1 more eighth. And that's going to put it right there in the middle of that block. And then measure down 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the middle of that block. And then just put that in there as the hole. Okay, so that is representing that hole that is in that part. Now, this line will exist on the back side. That's on the back side of the cut. And this is what we have for our front view. So when you lay this out on your front view, this is where it's important to project your lines and get that lined up. So I know you're sketching by hand, but you know you can, even though you're sketching by hand, I would expect this top right here to be in line with this right here. You kind of made that really small, didn't line up, so you want to make sure that you're projecting that over and you have a general idea of where that center is going to be located. All right. So the center line is still going to be the same. I'm going to just kind of sketch that in for the center line. And now we're going to lay out 4.5 inches. So I'm just going to come over here, put my ruler on here. You can count out these blocks. We've already, determined that 4.5 inches is 18 blocks. So I'm just kind of like making myself a mark where 18 blocks start and stop. And we'll locate the center. So 9 blocks over. You're counting that out to there. There we go. This will be 9. That's 9 blocks there. So if I go and, have an idea of where is the starting and the stopping point of my circle, and you're going to have to just kind of sketch this in there. Even though we're sketching it, lay out the points. We know the 4 quadrant points. And you're just going to have to kind of sketch that. It's good to do that with a pencil so you can erase your mistakes. But it still needs to be, top, bottom. The top, the bottom, and the 2 sides still need to maintain 4.5 inches. Now we've got this line that's projected over, so don't forget about our projectors. That tells us where the inside piece is. So that's 1.5 blocks. So 1.5 blocks here, 1.5 blocks there, 1.5 blocks here, 1.5 here. Then I'm going to draw the rest of that circle. It's not exactly a circle, but as long as I know that you're like laying out the point, I'm going to forgive you on your ability to draw that as a perfect circle. If you have a compass laying around, you can grab a compass. If not, we just sketch it. All right, so on the inside here, these are projectors, so I know that this is kind of like 2.5 blocks, 2.5 blocks, 2.5 blocks, 2.5 blocks. All right, so that lays out that inside 1 1/4 inch diameter circle. And we're just going to lay that out with the circle. I like turning my paper around. For some reason, I can get an arc better this direction. All right, so then that gives me that inside circle. So that is my front view. And now what I need to do is cut this as a section. So on one of these sketches, you got the cutting plane laid out correctly. That's what we need to do on each one of the drawings. The cutting plane has to be in here. if you have a dark pencil or you have a marker or something laying around the house, you can grab a marker and make that really dark. If not, just make sure you just press down on your pencil really hard so we can see a really dark line. Now, the phantom line is the line that we're using for a cutting plane line, and that has two little dashes. Okay, so make two dashes and then make yourself another little dark line. I'll leave that one open there for the center, two little lines, and then come out. So we only have to extend that cutting plane line about a half of an inch out past the part. We're going to draw another little line there and then put a nice little arrow on the end of it. I'm going to do that up here at the top as well. So just extend that out, draw an arrow, and now we need to label this as section A-A. So you need to draw an A at the top and an A at the bottom. That results in this being called section A-A, so we have to label that correctly. So we just type right in section A-A. Okay, now we need to finish up this view right here as a section like you've done here. We need to just now put in the rest of our section lines. So, you know, just kind of drawing that in there very lightly, 45 degrees. Trying to keep the spacing about the same. Don't section over the hole because that is an opening. So I'm just drawing little section lines in here. Okay, so that wraps that up as the section. And that is all we need for this problem. We don't have to put the dimensions on it. You can go back over that after you sketch it in there if you have like a marker. Any kind of Sharpie marker or anything like that you want to just kind of make it darker, you're welcome to do that. But that's what we're looking to do for each one of these problems, is to be able to show the section and the front view the same dimensions. You may have to turn your book to the side and lay this out because it's probably not going to work top to bottom. So as you can see, my paper here, bring that out, is long ways. So if I were doing this in a engineering book, probably going to take up quite a bit of that page. So turn the book to the side as you're laying this out, and that's going to help you out with laying that out. So this one did not have any holes here in the middle. You may have been looking at a sample problem somewhere in the book. So there are no holes here. There are no holes there. So take this one and just to go to like the next level, to finish this up. If this were the same size, okay, if you had put a hole in right here, draw your center line right here, taking those headlines out. This one just needed, the hole there, the hole in the middle. Draw your cutting plane line down through the middle here, and call this a section A-A. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. Try to keep the dimensions. I mean, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's not even half size. So let's try to make sure that we're using 18 blocks for that full diameter, and that equals 4.5 inches. So 18 blocks equals 4.5 inches. So that means the second one is still 4.5 inches, and the last one is 4.25. So the last one is 17. So that means that when you draw that one, right here, it's going to go to half of a block. So it will be 8.5 blocks from the middle to the end right here is 8.5 blocks. This diameter right here, we don't know it because it's a 15 degree. Let's see. Just draw yourself an angle for that and then pull that back. Just kind of fudge that in what you think might look like 15 degrees. If this block right here, this represents 45 degrees. So I would say something along this line right here, just kind of keeping it in the middle there. So if that's 45, go somewhere over closer to the inside. So you can kind of estimate that 15 degrees. Just try to keep it somewhere on the same. So 15 degrees is going to be measured from this line to that line. And you don't have to have an exact, just make sure that the top and the bottom look the same and just kind of estimate that at 15 degrees. Let me know if you have any more questions on these. Just want to make sure that you kind of get this because you're looking to get 20 points for each one of these. So you want to get as many points as possible. And so you want to have these drawn up as accurately as you possibly can. All right, so just let me know if you have any questions.